my husband the other day was saying, we were talking about how we were going to have you guys back on, and he said, this is violating their citizenship as United States citizens. And I go, well, I guess United States citizenship does not mean what we think it means. And I sort of throw that question to you guys, because it seems like there are ways for the government in all these cases that we think, like, we walk around as Americans, well, I have this freedom and the Constitution and this and that, but it's really only as valuable as the government, I guess, that's abiding by it. And so, what kind of recourse do the people have? And I think that's the fascinating part of this case, is that if you get labeled a certain way, like you were saying, Joseph, then what does your U.S. citizenship mean? What does it mean to be a citizen of the United States? I don't know. It's a question I ask myself all the time, but it's daunting, because I could see how it leaches into what we're talking about today, to somebody who's online writing a blog. What about Christina? Is she going to be an insurrectionist and a domestic terrorist someday? What about my family when we go, homesteading, and we have our own farm, and now we're not like in the system anymore, participating in the system? Are we going to be domestic extremists now because we're those weird people who live out in the country and farm their own food now? I mean, where does it end? And some people might say that's crazy. There's a definite line here, but I don't know. I think over time you can see a clear inching closer and closer towards something that at least for me makes me uncomfortable. So I just throw that out there to you guys. If you have any other comments, then we can get into your specific cases, Joseph.
Well, what I can say is this, and then I'll turn it over to Christina, of course. Are you going to be considered those things? Unequivocally, yes. There's no question about it. You probably already are. The mere fact that you're talking in a sympathetic way, in a sympathetic tone about January 6ers, about right-leaning Republicans, about anything that disagrees with the mainstream narrative is an indication in this day and age that you've already been put on one of their lists. You've already been categorized. You've already been deemed somebody who's a potential something. There is no question about it. That is not a conspiracy. That is not hyperbole. I can swear to you, my hand to God right now, based on my observation of the discovery materials that have been put forth in this case, that the information that has been collected about people is mind-boggling. And people, there was warnings in 2012, 2014. Look at the fine writing. Facebook Messenger is listening to you. Don't sign away this. Don't sign away that. All of a sudden, your Instagram feed and started showing you the shoes you wanted to buy, or the addition you wanted to do to your house because it was listening to you. It is listening to you. It is intelligent. They take all that information and they use it to categorize people and to deem people friendly or not friendly to the regime. And when I mean the regime, I mean the regime, the Biden regime, or as I call it, the Brandon regime. It is anti-American. It is Orwellian. It is. It has no respect for the Constitution of the United States. It treats the Constitution of the United States as an antiquated document that was written by white men who were prejudiced and were out of touch with reality. Meanwhile, nothing could be further from the truth. And the reason that why they are doing that is because the United States of America and its traditional values, like American exceptionalism, the right to criticize and speak out against government, the federalized system, is a direct threat to their greater agenda, which we can get into some other time. But make no mistake about it. The question, if will you be somebody who goes out into the country and sort of lives halfway off the grid sometimes? Will Christina, who's reporting on these cases, be looked at, be targeted? Of course you will, because that's how the fear and intimidation tactics work. They want everybody to know at some point and at some time that they will be hunted down and they will be jailed for illegitimate reasons if they do not fall in line. How do we fight against that? Well, lawyers like myself, we fight in court. Private citizens and people like you guys and journalists, you do what you're doing, but mainly we got to get people to the ballot box. We have to get people to ensure the whole election integrity movement. In local elections, you have to vote and you have to be aware at the very localist of all levels about what's going on in your community, your school boards, your city boards, your town boards, and going up.
If you wear glasses and you also want to support my work, I have a new sponsor that lets you do that. I actually wear their blue light glasses when I am editing my videos. So go get some blue light blocking glasses that work at betterspectacles.com/Allison. They do specialize, however, in progressive lenses and difficult prescriptions. And we can attest to this as a family because they have really helped my husband, who is a disabled veteran.
The reason why I have to wear glasses is because of some of the explosions that I've experienced. It causes my left eye to constantly do this. So when that happens, my right eye tries to syncopate, and it creates basically migraines that I can't do anything.
These progressives really help my husband with his eyesight and his migraines, and now you can get them too at betterspectacles.com/Allison. Again, betterspectacles.com/Allison. These are from the German-engineered Rodenstock eyewear collection. It's a 144-year-old company. They also have opticians that will help you with your specific prescription. And right now, they're offering an introductory 61% off their single vision or progressive glasses with Blue Block. Plus, you get free handcrafted Rodenstock frames. So go visit the folks at betterspectacles.com/Allison. Again, that's Allison with 1L. See better what's going on around you and support my work while you're at it. I'm curious how you think we move in the direction that Joseph's talking about when you as a journalist, and me too, we face suspension and deplatforming and all those things too. It just seems very difficult. I don't know where the hope is on just the information war itself.
That's a very good point. To kind of address the first point you made about what does it mean to be an American citizen now? It is pretty disturbing, right? And I think that really where it went wrong is the sort of expansion of the national security apparatus. I mean, just consider there are 17 intelligence agencies in America. Do we really need that, right? But you can kind of go back and look at how it's sort of like a permanent bureaucracy, right? It doesn't really matter which side is in power at any given time. You have these entrenched interests. You have people in the national security community. They're going to be there regardless of whoever is president for a couple years. It's, that's the main problem, I think. And these people just sort of over time consolidated their power, obtained more and more power. And that's, I think, the issue. You can go back to the 1980s during the Iran-Contra scandal. We learned about Main Core, the FBI database of dissidents, right? They were maintaining this list because in the event of some kind of national security or emergency, they were going to round these people up under continuity of government. So that kind of shows you that this has been in place for a while. They've been thinking about how viewing American citizens as sort of enemy combatants, and over the years, even our police have become militarized. They're getting military surplus gear. They're being trained by military, ex-military, and they're being trained to think of the people that they're supposed to be serving and protecting as potential enemy combatants. I think that's been the main problem here, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better. I think we've seen also since the 1980s, there were at least 50 different mainstream or news publications that have been consolidated into 6 multinational corporations that have this sort of stranglehold on the narrative. And I wonder too about the symbiotic relationship between the intelligence community and these publications, because we learned at the Church Committee hearings in the 1970s that the CIA employs journalists. They were saying they were doing it for foreign audiences back then, but you have to wonder, I just look at MSNBC, NBC right now, you have people like James Clapper, the former director of national intelligence, who's now like a correspondent or a contributor, a national security expert, John Brennan, like all of these, the Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, all these people that were in the intelligence community are contributors to mainstream news publications. You have to ask yourself, like, what does that mean, right? And then we have data analytics and social media, as Joseph pointed out, where they're collecting massive amounts of information about people, and what they can do with that, I think, is terrifying, because we learned a little bit in 2017 about Cambridge Analytica, what they can do with micro-targeted messaging, right? How they can kind of they call it nudging, right? They can kind of target you. They understand everything about you. They know more about you than you do. They have psychological profiles on people, and they put them into little silos, right? They want everybody isolated in their community so they can kind of nudge you and kind of push you in the direction that they want you to go in. And I think that's kind of scary, but it's bigger than things like Cambridge Analytica. That's just one company. We know that they're doing this. That's what these social media companies do. They've even admitted it, that they kind of curate your newsfeed to make you feel like outraged, you know, and things like that. So they're controlling your emotions. I think it's kind of scary. And then I don't know what the answer is, because if you look at what's happening now, they're talking about like the fourth industrial revolution, robotics, drones, the UN smart cities. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy, right? So if you don't want to be part of that, you're going to be seen as a potential extremist, you know? And what does that mean? What does it mean to be a citizen when we don't have a secure border, when more and more people are just coming in each day? And, you know, we're more concerned about securing Ukraine's border, I guess. I don't know what it means to be an American citizen now. As far as like you go along with the agenda, I guess you're okay. But the minute that you don't, then it's questionable. And the line changes each year. You know, it's like something you did 10 years ago might have been fine, but now, oh, you're an extremist. So it's really scary, and everybody should be concerned about that. Doesn't matter what your politics are. At some point, you know, you're going to be on the wrong side of the line there, and you should be concerned about how much power the federal government has taken.
As always, you can drink to free speech and support my channel by going to AllisonWinePromo.com. That's Allison with 1L winepromo.com. And check out my favorite wines. These are Malbecs from Argentina, and each one of them is very unique. One comes from a vineyard at almost 9,000 feet. So that's an extreme altitude Malbec, which gives it a very robust flavor. Another comes from the oldest vineyard in Argentina, and another uses natural fermentations. You get 50% off the wine itself and 50% off shipping. And you get to support my channel with a great glass of wine. For all the coffee drinkers, there is twinenginecoffee.com/Allison, twinenginecoffee.com/Allison. These are USDA certified organic roasts from Nicaragua, and there is a wide variety of them. They are high altitude roasts, and the CEO and founder of the small family owned company lives right there in Nicaragua, where they grow, harvest, and roast the beans. You can get dark roast, medium roast, light roast, and one of my favorites is a Caturra tea, which is actually tea that you make from the coffee fruit. You can hot brew it or cold brew it like I do. I do it cold brew for 24 hours. It is quite delicious. Again, my sponsors allow me to bring in interviews like this one, and it does help support my work when you go support them.